Japanese government allows taxis to refuse to pick up maskless passengers. Had an issue with this a while back. Taxi picks me up, at the hospital no less, but the driver wasn't wearing a mask. I'd ordered it with an app, and if I send him away, I'm supposed to pay a cancellation fee. It would be nice to see not mask wearing as an accepted deal breaker in either direction. Not just in Japan obvs. Wow, it's about time. Uber and ride-share services have been giving the drivers this power for a while. I don't understand, why can't a taxi driver refuse to pick up anybody for any reason? Was this thumbnail made by Scotty Kilmer? Speaking of knucklehead passengers, Japanese authorities should be allowed to report U.S. Marines and sailors who are refusing to obey mask regulations while in Okinawa. Why would taxis not be allowed to refuse passengers without masks? This is the best TL.dr I could make. Original, https://sornews24.com/2020/11/08/no mask no ride. Japanese government allows taxis to refuse to pick up maskless passengers / reduced by 71%. I'm a bot. Perhaps these maskless passengers don't see a taxi as being the same as other forms of public transportation because they're not sharing the car with strangers to them riders, and figure that as long as the driver is wearing a mask they don't need one themselves. Whatever the reason, it's something cab drivers aren't happy about, and so a group of 10 Tokyo taxi operating companies recently petitioned the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism for the right to refuse to pick up passengers who won't wear a mask. The ministry has now approved the request, officially recognizing Tokyo taxis to leave the maskless waiting on the curb as they drive away. Extended summary, http://np. reddit.com/r/auditl/comments/jqc6gc/japanese_government_refuse_to/faq, http://np. reddit.com/auditl/comments/31b9fm/faq_auditldr_bot/version 2.0.2537643 DRS so far. Feedback, http://np. reddit.com/message/compose, 2%23 auditldr PMs and comments are monitored, constructive feedback is welcome. Top keywords, drive #1 taxi #2 mask #3 passengers #4 wear #5. Allows. Here in Kuwait, if either the passenger or driver are without masks you're looking at fines, jail, or both. To clarify, it could be illegal to refuse before, thus the change. Why wouldn't they have been able to do this in the first place? Just refuse service, like what's the passenger going to do, call the cops on them? That's already a law here in Metro Manila, Philippines. They have to pick people up. I stopped taking taxis in Canada because they refuse to do trips that take them away from hotspots in the evening. Uber all the way. Most definitely targeting foreigners, especially Americans, the military and dependents. And probably most Europeans. I'm living in Japan. Yes, there are anti-maskers even in Japan. In fact, just yesterday there was an anti-mask rally in Shibuya, which is one of the most crowded city. Sudden outbreak of common sense. From my very limited exposure to Japan, I would guess this rule is more about the drivers now being given coverage and able to deal with the occasional belligerent drunk. In broad strokes, Japan is a very polite society and the drivers may not have felt comfortable telling people to mask up without legal coverage. Not sure, but is Japan having a similar law like in Germany? We have laws that force taxi drivers to accept guests, unless of course there is a treat to their life or such things, and they need to have a driver at all times ready. Especially on very rural areas that's outside of the party seasons, a bit annoying for the drivers, since as driver it can happen that you get no guest at all a whole night. But still need to be ready. Anyway, if they have similar laws, this new one allowing to refuse is a great thing. Every country should make masks mandatory in public transport systems and taxis. No mask equals no service. Why wouldn't they have been allowed to in the first place? They weren't allowed to. In the US, a taxi might not pick you up if your shoes don't go with your jacket the right way. Thank God for Uber, but also Uber treat your employees like people please. Japan also considered converting to Islam in 1906. Fact of the day. I couldn't have imagined that a European country would be stricter. The driver and the passenger are obliged to wear mask. Why can't everyone just rock the mask like Kichisaki? So does America's. Same in Norway. In Denmark it's illegal right now. Nice sug. Thumbnail for the article is r/comedy heaven material. Are Japanese taxi drivers not allowed to refuse customers until the gov gives them permission to refuse? This should be SOP for everyone. A few people can ruin it for many, which is not fair. Well, it is a health risk, so this should be the case everywhere. Any company should be able to refuse a customer under any reason. This is a good step. Mask prevents the spreading of COVID. The protection is exactly that. If you have it, and you are wearing a mask, the risk of infecting others is highly reduced. It's more than enough for me to use one. Great, now let's do this everywhere else. In Denmark it's straight up illegal to not wear a mask in them. I am in Canada and Uber requires us to upload a selfie of us wearing a mask before confirming our rides. Taxis can always refuse a ride. Here in Hong Kong, it's been illegal not to wear a mask in public for a while. All public transport and space. The worst culprits, for not wearing masks, originally were the Guilo. That has all changed now though, and the most common people you'll see without wearing a mask is the old Hong Kong men. I actually saw one take his mask down to cough the other day. What a special case. Oh, and the dirty old fuckers are still spitting inside the shopping malls. That's cool. In America, you don't need the government's permission, you can just do it. That's how it should be in America. I thought for a second maskless was some kind of Japanese minority. Conservatives have gotten me to expect racism around every corner. We had this in Chicago since spring 2020. Absolutely common sense. To think you could be getting in a taxi where someone with COVID has been sat maskless is ridiculous. They need government permission to do this. This has been in effect in Canada since March. Congrats, I guess. I just hope people would use cloth masks instead of disposable ones. The amount of waste is hard to imagine. Meanwhile, in the USA, we're struggling to get 90-year-old obese diabetics on O2 to wear masks, while their grandkids go to the beach thinking YOLO. And killing their elderly family. Anyone interested in adopting a USA family? Veterinarian married to a special ed teaching assistant. We don't require much beyond occasional watering and a board game night. Now if only states in the US would require people to wear masks indoors. Japanese government forced taxi drivers to pick up maskless passengers for around 8 months in a pandemic and finally stopped would be a better title. Edit, imagine that, a 100% factual comment being controversial on Reddit. I am honestly of the belief that Japan's coronavirus numbers are complete bullshit and the government has been refusing to properly tally the spread and deaths to save face. This is a country that was one of the first countries to report cases, implemented basically no lockdown measures, did not enforce social distancing despite having insane population densities in its cities, put very few restrictions on foreign travel and refused to cancel the fucking Olympics. And even now their measures are still way behind the rest of the world, and yet they claim to be one of the most successful nations at dealing with the crisis. I know people say that well, the Japanese wear face masks and know not to go near people when they are ill, but that accounts for incredibly little unless there's government infrastructure in place to support people, and also, if you've ever actually been to Japan and seen how people pack themselves together, you'd know that this sentiment is bullshit.